Welcome to episode 4 of Minted, where we bridge the gap between the centralized and decentralized. We are honored to have Audrey Nesbitt with us, CMO of DeFi Trends, one of the core members of CryptoChicks, helping women across the world learn about blockchains and NFTs. And we're so excited to have Audrey with us. So Audrey, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, we're going to dive into first talk about NFTs, and I promise we'll get to blockchain. So, kind of test me. When was the first time you learned about NFTs?
So I've actually been in the space since 2016, 2017, and I wrote an article about NFTs back then because of CryptoKitties, which is actually probably the first NFT game or collectible game. And so I wrote articles about it back then and how it was going to be a big part of the future moving into Web3 and digital ownership and attribution tracked on the blockchain.
That's great. So how'd you find out about those projects? Were you just like Googling one day and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this makes sense?
No, so I opened a restaurant downtown Toronto back in 2016, and my business partner in the restaurant, her husband was a Bitcoin miner. And so he had some Bitcoin and Ethereum mining equipment running in the basement of our restaurant. And he would have investor meetings at the restaurant once a week. And that was where I started to learn about cryptocurrency. And then Toronto back at the time, it was a hot spot for some really great projects coming up: Untraceable, Polymath, Ethereum. And anyways, but it just was this hotspot of networking and getting to know people. And CryptoKitties was just like the topic of conversation as being something that was really hot and so new and so cool to the cryptocurrency space.
So did you buy a CryptoKitty then at the time, or were you just like watching all this happen? You see all the mining in the restaurant, you're like, okay, I need to make my first purchase.
Yeah, no, I bought Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I did not buy a CryptoKitty.
I'd have to go look to see if CryptoKitties is still around, still holding strong.
Yeah, they're around, but yeah, I did not buy a CryptoKitty.
So then when did you make your first NFT purchase?
So my first NFT purchase was a collection called Off by an amazing brain named Sarah Friend. Now, Sarah Friend is a Canadian that lives in Germany, and she is very in tune with the NFT space and gaming. So she's really good at colliding the two worlds. And Off is a collection of screens of devices, black screens, and in those screens are embedded codes. So I'm drawing a blank. And it was a quest that everybody that bought them to get together, reveal the secrets or the codes to reveal this written piece that she did. So it was kind of gamifying the whole NFT experience, which was really impactful. I love projects that go beyond the JPEG, right? I'm not a big fan of the JPEG NFT. And Sarah Friend is just one of those that's pushing the limits and really pushing what you can do with NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, the profile picture projects and community-based projects can only go so far, whether it's a utility or a DAO or some type of like community aspect that you're helping others through being part of it. I think as we see, at least from my limited experience where the NFT world is evolving, it's like you're getting an item that either bridges into the physical world or this item gives access to something.
Right. And I think it's even the access is gonna be a big part. Like I kind of describe it like an all access, music festival pass kind of thing. But the pass could be so wide now because of metaverse projects and augmented reality. And like, there's just going to be so much opportunity there. And then my most expensive NFT purchase was the Robert Mondavi NFT drop. Did you hear about that drop?
No, I haven't.
So it was, you buy it, I think it was 3,000 or 3,500, and it's actually a collectible bottle of wine, and the bottles are all handcrafted. The wine is a special batch, And so I bought that NFT, and the wine gets released in September, October, I believe. So with that, you get the unique NFT, you get the collectible bottle and the wine. And part of it also is you can do a tour of one of the vineyards attached to Mondavi.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the perfect word of like bridging the physical and the digital. And
Right.
I think that's so easy for people that like don't get this. It's like, well, you go to the store and buy shoes. What if instead of going to the store and buying shoes, you shop online, but you shop online and you buy this NFT, and now that NFT is like the token or the reason in which you are able to then get that physical pair.
Right.
And
Right.
then,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, keep going.
There's even a fashion, I don't know much about it. There's a fashion drop where it was like to use the example you used, you could buy the sneakers and automatically start putting them into your photos. Right? You can pose with them, do the whole fashion shoot. I think somebody did where you can buy the designer dress just for photo ops, just for social media. And you own the NFT. So you don't actually get the real thing, but then most people will find, and a lot of young people will find there's value in just using it for photo ops on social media. So yeah, you could take it further, like you said, and then go into the store and use it to collect the actual physical item or what have you.
Yeah. Well, so it's so 2016, you're in the restaurant space, and then you start seeing this mining, and you're like, okay, so Ethereum and blockchain technology, you're like Bitcoin, you're like, okay, I need to get into this.
Yep.
Like, how do you take that jump? Was it like, hey, I'm just gonna slowly start getting into this, or did you just see so much of it happening that you're like, all right, like I'm completely taking a 180 for what I've been doing in my career?
I just started consulting from the marketing aspect on the projects in technology, not just emerging tech like cryptocurrency. There's a big, communication gap between the developers and laymen, and I'm really good at translating. So I was able to understand at least the fundamentals of blockchain and cryptocurrency enough to help projects craft messaging and that sort of thing around, and directed to wider masses, if that makes sense. So I started marketing consulting, and then I met CryptoChicks. Elena Selakova founded CryptoChicks, and they started back then in 2016 with doing a meetup for women to teach them how to just get started with digital wallets, because they saw the same thing. It's like a lot of women would love to get involved, and oh my God, how do you even start, right? How do you download this? What are these wallets? What the hell is MetaMask? And, back then in Canada, and I think in a lot of other, like same with you, US, it was a lot of banks, if they knew you were moving money in a cryptocurrency, they'd block the transaction, and it was just a hassle even to just try and get in. So they started as a meetup group, and then it became this full nonprofit educational hub with chapters all over the world, teaching and accelerating projects actually, and startups through the blockchain cryptocurrency space.
Well, taking that initiative, you not only are you building in an industry that some people don't even understand, but you're helping women understand and helping be a leader and helping women be at the forefront. How did you know that like that was what you needed to do? Like, did it just make sense to you, or like what was that drive behind that?
So for me, the drive was the community, actually. The energy in the excitement and the revolution, right? I loved the decentralized finance aspect of it. I love DeFi. I loved the idea of removing middlemen where we can remove them, and removing these huge amounts of fees and the control that a few handful of banks have on our financial democracy. So for me, that is exciting, right? The whole destructing of centralized finance, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to get into common politics today with going on up in Canada with the prime minister just enacted. I mean, it's like if you're in a world where it is decentralized, it's like the community is helping make those decisions. And so you must be seeing such a, unique perspective in the political lens, seeing this work in real life. And you're like, well, DeFi doesn't have these problems. We don't have this type of politics because
Right.
it's all verified.
Yeah, government can just decide to freeze your assets because they disagree with you politically. It's, yeah.
Okay, so you're starting to see this now. The crash happened in 2017, right? There was the big crash. So and you started this like early 2018, but you were early on, starting to buy back in 2016. So you've kind of seen the roller coaster. What kind of gave you that confidence that after the big crash, you're like, hey, doesn't matter. That's just market course correcting. Like this is the future.
So what's interesting is, so crypto winter, a lot of people got wiped out, and it was challenging for a little while, but I still loved the energy and for the legitimate projects and the real projects that we're building. It just meant that was a time to like hunker down, cut back on expenses, because a lot of great projects going into crypto winter, you see it a lot in startups. They keep their money in cryptocurrency. They don't actually take it out for safety, right? So you should take money out and bank it, right? There's still that, you still got to pay people, that sort of thing. So a lot of projects kept their money in crypto. Crypto winter happened and major layoffs had to happen. For projects that were legitimate and actually building, it's a great time to build, right? Great time to scale back and really focus on what's important, and that's building. I noticed a big difference in our latest kind of bear market, and that is people are still building. Nobody's, completely wiped out. Like the energy this time is so different, and it's kind of nonstop. So back then there was a drop. It was a huge drop cliff. This time, not so much. This time, the NFT market's still exploding. Central finance is still coming in. So it's still hot, still very hot.
Yeah, and I also think people, I mean, as the years go on and technology becomes more and more involved in our life, you talk about removing the middlemen and the fees. I always talk about removing friction. Anything you can do to remove friction in any process, people will pay for that. Because removing friction leads to faster adoption, because we're so impatient as a society that it's just like everything needs to be friction free. So when did you like realize, okay, the centralized world that you had been building, and obviously you're a marketer by trade, you've been building and scaling in the centralized space. When did you realize it's like, okay, I'm going full time into blockchain, and that I'm like hard 180, I'm done. Like this is full on. What helped you make that decision?
Just so what's been fascinating in the space at the time, like right now, is finding people that are experts on both CeFi and DeFi. So I'm a commodity right now, you know what I mean? Because because everybody's, even centralized banks and corporations are now looking at the blockchain space, the cryptocurrency space, tokenization, NFTs, obviously. It's just a hot time for people that have been in the market to still be in the market, and it's so exciting. Like, and it's just going to be a tremendous next few years. So I've also started on a few projects that'll be announced over the next few months that I'm very excited about in the space. So it's just a great time, great energy, great people, right? Great communities. The communities are amazing. It's just a great time to be in the space.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like startups, right? Any good business that's built is built by people and product. If you have a good product that's scalable, you have people that understand the space, you're able to scale and scale quickly. For someone like me, I am not well versed in crypto. I can name probably five coins, five currencies. I don't have the depth and breadth, and I more resonate to the NFTs because I can, I guess, more easily talk to that. How do you find the balance as, more of an expert, like between those that are maybe like me thinking more on NFT versus not thinking as much about blockchain and tokens? Like, how would you help like dissect the two of those and how like dissect the two of those?
So NFTs right now, what's big on the NFT side is obviously the art or the clips, right? The basketball clips, the things that are very tangible. What's not yet very tangible to a lot of people is where NFTs are going. So I believe like the NFT JPEG, even the community-based ones, unless they're incredibly unique, I think a lot are just going to disappear. NFTs are going to be used a lot for real estate, for any type of coding of ownership, of showing who is the true owner and the uniqueness and the rarity behind that NFT, right? So, or that, think of it as a QR code attached to something, right? And then it's just tracked digitally that this pen is has an NFT code marked to it. And we know that it was owned by Mark Cuban because it was registered on whatever, it was minted on, OpenSea, and it will always be no matter how many times it's sold, there's that proof of authenticity that it started with Mark Cuban, right? So it will be used for other digital identities and assets. This is just the beginning. Obviously, the next big wave that we're in now is GameFi, right? Is NFTs in games, play to earn structures, but also tracking in-game assets and then moving those assets through different games, not gated in a gaming in one game, being able to move them, sell them, switch them in marketplaces, that sort of thing. That's exploding now, or has been like the last six months to a year. DeFi and cryptocurrency is more, well, not DeFi, not cryptocurrency. DeFi is more taking centralized financial products and putting them in a decentralized ecosystem. So being able to lend, borrow, provide liquidity, extract yield, all of those things without a centralized body controlling it. So I actually think the big play and the long play is more in DeFi than the art NFT, the current NFT craze.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One thing that I get like stuck up on a lot when people start diving deep and asking me questions, and I'm like, look, I'm not an expert. I'm a learner too. That's exactly why this is helpful. It's like I'm learning while everyone else is learning. So there's, you talk about the blockchain, and I know there's like many different types of blockchains, like each,
right.
There's different platforms with different coins. And then it's like, how does this ecosystem talk? Because it is so decentralized. Like if I'm buying here or selling here and I'm buying this currency and this currency, and now am I like going to FTX to convert it all? I'm going to some like global exchange to like exchange across platforms. Like I kind of think of this like a highway. There's like 100 different lanes and each lane is a different blockchain. Like help me kind of understand, like, how do I understand what blockchain like I'm a part of? Is it by project? Is it by coin? The newbie question here.
So the major platforms I'm going to use, so I'm going to use Ethereum because it's the largest platform to build on decentralized applications on. So when you build a decentralized application on Ethereum, right, Ether or ETH runs the Ethereum system, but it's open source. So a good example that I've used is Lego blocks. So you have all of these open source decentralized applications building on Ethereum, and they can each have their own token. They all interact with each other because they're built on Ethereum. Ultimately, the core is Ethereum. So anything on that chain is on that platform is, I don't want to say 100% because I don't know for sure if it's 100%, but it's pretty much all interoperable. So that is the beauty of a lot of the metaverse projects and these projects coming out, is that you could go and you could build something on Ethereum, and you can take little Lego block pieces of all of these other open source projects that are already there, and you can build your own project, and you can have your own token, and that token can interact with every other token on the Ethereum network.
Got it.
So when you want your Ethereum token to talk to maybe a Binance token or Bitcoin, and I'm going to give you the simplified version, I'm not a expert in that field, is then you would go to a centralized exchange and flip it there.
Got
and
it.
then move it on to Binance or Solana or whichever other chains. I'm sure there's a better, more detailed description. That is my generalized layman kind of stab at it. How's that?
That's so helpful. I mean, I just bought my first project. It's called Yaku Corp, and they're building a metaverse, and they have these bikes and then people and apartments. And we were supposed to mint on Magic Eden, and then that didn't work. Right. So we had to do Fractal. And I'm like learning all these different exchanges. I'm like, I don't even know what these things mean, but I need Solana, and I couldn't get anything verified. And I'm like, I need help to someone send this to my Phantom wallet, because I'm not using my MetaMask. I'm using another one. And so now it's like, okay, you have different blockchains, you have different wallets. And I think this is where people really get stuck, because it's like, okay, 100%. They're just like, wait, hold on. You just said all these words and I don't understand them. And then it's like, okay, got to take a step back, and simplify it.
Yeah, and that's still the case, right? You hear about a hot project coming up, and unless it's already available, so the thing is in DeFi, it's a big risk, but the money's going to be made in finding these great up and coming projects before they launch and before they hit a centralized exchange. So before they hit Coinbase. Right? So then you look into how you buy it, and it's like you can only buy it on Uniswap or PancakeSwap or here. And it's, well, how do I get there? Well, I got to do a wallet, and then I got to flip it into BNB, and then I got to do that. And then you're like doing this, and it's like, oh, fuck it. I'll wait for it to get on Coinbase. I hope this isn't a PG.
No, we're good.
You can bleep it. But no, I will have, unless I really, really want to be involved in a project, if I have to go through what I call crypto gymnastics, I'll fall off. Like, I'll just lose interest. Like, I wanted to buy, it was an NFT drop at Christmas time. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I went to the NFT market, and you had to use their token and this. And then I was like, ah, fuck it. I'm over it.
And you're in this space. I mean, you've been in it for 6+ years. Like, you understand this. And I think, people get so complicated. Now, I think sometimes like there's learning and doing research, and you can watch YouTube video after YouTube video. Sometimes you just have to like go through the steps of, oh, okay, I'm just going to follow this. Like, let's just keep following instructions to figure out where to go. And then you're like, okay, not as difficult as I thought.
Yeah, no, I'm working on an exciting project that actually aggregates everything that's happening in liquidity pool. So when a project launches, one of the first places they go to get liquidity, obviously, is Uniswap, right? So they supply the two tokens, Wrapped Ether and their token, into these liquidity pools to start putting liquidity behind their tokens. So some contracts that get put onto Uniswap can be fake contracts or scams, right? So you can put your money in it, but only one person can take the money out of it. So this platform, Fluidify, what they do is they monitor when new smart contracts hit, and then they watch it for activity, and then they provide the liquidity to it, or give you the information to provide liquidity to it, and then when to exit. So the benefit of platforms like this is when you provide liquidity, you make money off the transaction fees, right? So even if the market drops, what happens when the market drops is everybody's dumping, everybody's selling their tokens. So you're making that money, right? You're making that money off the transaction fees. So it's a very exciting project. That's why I think NFTs will kind of quiet down, except in GameFi. And then they'll rebound, like, because there's going to be more utility and more unique projects coming out with those. But what's happening in DeFi is to me is just amazing.
Well, let's talk about DeFi trends, because I know we haven't got there yet. So you know, you're the CMO there. Obviously, it makes sense. You're the marketer. You've been doing this across centralized and DeFi. So how'd that come about? How did you get looped in as part of that group?
So it's a group of women founders based out of Miami, and they so it's founded by an amazing data scientist named Ngesu Satan, and she wanted to not 100% make it all about women, right? But really wanted to focus on empowering women and bringing women on the team. And so DeFi Trends is like a data platform, and it analyzes on-chain data and off-chain data to make an assessment of kind of what's happening in the market in real time based off of, you know, those channels, on-chain and off-chain.
And for those that aren't familiar with on-chain and off-chain, can you just give a brief explanation of that?
Okay, so on-chain analysis is what's happening on a blockchain. On blockchain, you can see wallet movements, you can see Bitcoin movement. So if a lot of Bitcoin's moving onto an exchange, that's a signal that somebody's dumping or whales are going to dump. And if a lot of Bitcoin is moving off-chain, it's a signal that they're holding, right? So investors or big people are actually holding onto it and not selling it. So wallet movement or coin token movement, however you want to, they call it watching, they call it whale watching or watching the smart money. You can see on chain what tokens they hold, how much. You don't know who they are, but you can kind of see where they're going with it. Off-chain analysis would include like sentiment, which is social media, community, you know, GitHub depository, like that sort of thing. And it's in addition to what's happening on chain, as we've seen with Wall Street Bets, community is a huge part of a coin push. Doge is one of those. SHIB, you know, the Shiba army is a big indicator of what can happen with community, right? What can happen with when you galvanize a community, and they're great communities.
Yeah. So if I could on chain as like me watching Warren Buffett and like Berkshire Hathaway, I'm like watching all of their like trading analysis. I like see, oh, they made these trades. Okay, follow that. I mean, you can't see for the most part. Like you can't see unless like public businesses buy large amounts. Like as an individual investor, you don't know what I'm buying on the stock market today.
Right.
But that's so fascinating that like you can see on chain. Again, it's, you know, decentralized, so you don't know who I am. You see my wallet, but you see, oh, this whale is trading all that. Okay, let's follow the trend. And then you're kind of combining that, like the Reddit, the Wall Street Bets, where the community movements are doing that. So do you see then, I mean, who is it? Like JP Morgan just announced a bank in the metaverse. Do you see these like centralized financial institutions realizing, wow, like there's more for us to build and scale in DeFi, and they start evolving their businesses, or are they like too big to morph into that?
No, I think what's going to happen is CeFi will integrate some of DeFi, right? So CeFi still has the better UX and the better onboarding and offboarding, right? We talked about onboarding in crypto. It's like your eyes roll, you know, it's not easy. So I think banks and these for two reasons. One, younger generations want to deal with digital currencies and cryptocurrencies and NFTs. If the big banks don't onboard, they're going to get overtaken by some tech company or fintech that's going to do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's their way of hanging out with the cool kids, right? Visa bought an NFT. They bought an NFT like 6 months ago. I'm trying to remember when it's like they're trying to stay relevant in this young, you know, Visa, like with this young DeFi, want to just do peer-to-peer transactions off their phone and not deal with Visa or what have you. But crypto.com has made having a crypto.com Visa cool, right?
Yeah.
I love my crypto.com Visa card. It's so cool. Do you have one? I have one. It's really cool. It's really cool. And I stake and stuff on crypto.com. But yeah, so I think it's their way of staying relevant. And it's a smart move, right? Because that's where the younger generations are going. And they will have to integrate these amazing CeFi or DeFi platforms will get integrated.
So someone listening that's like, okay, I still haven't bought anything. I don't have Bitcoin. I don't have Ether. I don't have Solana. I don't even have an NFT. And they're like, okay, this makes enough sense to like do something. Like, how do you recommend for someone that's like, all right, I'm ready to get into this? Like, what's your first step? Like, what's your first move? What do you recommend?
So to me, cryptocurrency is different from NFTs, right? In that sense that I wouldn't buy an NFT unless you have a reason to play with it. Like if you're starting an NFT drop or you're doing something in the NFT space, then I suggest you buy one to see, right? If you're not in the space, definitely buy it if you like it, or if you think you're going to use the utility that's behind it, because I think a lot are overhyped, and there's some great ones, right? There's some amazing ones. There's one about to drop called the Eternals, and it's amazing. And it's they actually, the money is going to go to protect the rainforest, and the NFTs in themselves will evolve and grow, and they react to the environmental temperatures and that sort of thing. So it is a huge push towards NFTs for sustainability and that sort of thing. And the founder is amazing, and she loves the space, the NFT space, the crypto space. But a lot of what happens in cryptocurrency and NFTs is all about money and profit. And she really wanted to do something that gave back to the environment and really helped, as opposed to just the next cash grab.
Yeah, we'd love to have her on the podcast. I think that'd be a great segment to have. I think so. If I want to go into cryptocurrency though, like where do I just say, oh, Bitcoin? I've heard Bitcoin the most, so I'm going to do Bitcoin. Like, what do you, if I'm looking to get into crypto, obviously I need to subscribe to DeFi Trends and sign up for the basic plan so you can start to follow the top 15 currencies to get an understanding. So assuming I follow up and do that, what coins do you recommend that I get into?
So I think for somebody that is just kind of getting in and just wants their toe in it, I would say Bitcoin, right? Just, I think Bitcoin is, for lack of a better term, it's always risky, but I think Bitcoin's out of all of them is safe, right? I'm a big believer in Ethereum, but there's other, chain like you said, Solana, Cardano. So I would look into, if you want to go beyond Bitcoin, you can subscribe to something like DeFi Trends, where they will rate them, right? And they'll tell you why or how they're vetted. And then maybe stick to the top, I'd say top 10 by market cap, but that's not necessarily 100% of the case. I follow, so one of the channels I like to follow is the Coin Bureau. Do you follow the Coin Bureau?
No, I don't.
So I love him. I wish I could tell you his name. He is great at explaining what's happening in crypto. He is very up to date. And he also talks about, like you subscribe to his newsletter and he'll show you where he's invested. And it's not investment advice. He is not a financial advisor licensed, but if you want to go more in it beyond Bitcoin, find a couple of these influencers that aren't shillers. Do you know what I mean by that? They're not token shillers. They're not getting paid to say, go buy Doge, right? They analyze them and they report on them, and they're very transparent and honest in how they report on them. And Coin Bureau guy is one of those guys.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, do your research. I mean, in any business, you want to do your due diligence, but I think that's been what's really, I think, awakening for me in this community is that everyone is so supportive. They're like, oh, you don't know something? Oh, look at this link, go follow here. And that's what was going to be one of my questions. So where, in addition to the Coin Bureau, like where else do you find your research? Where do you look to gain and learn more?
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I read a lot, and definitely talking in the community, because you can find out about projects that are coming up, especially if you believe in the team, or and then in from the centralized world, so to speak, you can kind of follow, like Mark Cuban is as invested in Matic, I believe. I'm trying to think, and you can kind of see where they're moving, follow the smart money, what they say, right? But yeah, it's just do your research and understand it's a risk and be ready. So, it's funny, and you kind of touched on crypto winter, the first big crypto winter. This one recently, when we've dropped, I think my portfolio has dropped like 50%, and you see people, on Twitter talking about it, and it's like, yeah, we've been here. I'm not tripping. I've been here. I know Bitcoin's coming back fierce. I know Ethereum's coming back fierce. I'm in Phantom, which you mentioned Phantom Wallet. So I'm in Phantom Token. I'm trying to think what else. And I know they're going to come back, and they're going to come back strong. So I'm not
Well, Audrey, this has been so helpful. I've learned so much, and I just really appreciate you taking the time. So thank you much for being on Minted. If there's any other final thoughts or words that you have, I'd love to get those in before we wrap this up. But if not, hit the like, subscribe. And how can we find you? How can people follow you and learn more about the content that you're putting out, Audrey?
So you can find Audrey Nesbitt 11 on Twitter. You can follow DeFi Trends on Twitter. We have a lot of big announcements coming up, including an NFT drop, where you will get, there'll actually be utility to it. You'll get like a free subscription to the platform and VIP access to a lot of our events that happen in Miami. And so, yeah, we have a lot of big news coming up, and so hit me on LinkedIn, follow me on Twitter, and follow DeFi Trends. Lots of news coming up.
I love it. Hit that like, subscribe, engage. Audrey, thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate it.